The galaxy thought Earth was gone, wiped away and forgotten. After the invasion that burned its cities and poisoned its skies, no one believed humans would rise again. Alien fleets had landed, their soldiers marched through broken streets, and the great council of the stars declared the humans finished. But they were wrong. Deep in the shadows of space, where scanners did not reach and eyes did not see, humanity was not gone, humanity was waiting. In the hidden shipyards carved into dead moons and hollow asteroids, workers toiled in silence. They were not many, but they carried the memory of billions. Each rivet hammered into steel was done with anger. Each engine tested was done with grief. The silence of the shipyards was heavy, broken only by the sound of machines shaping war. The workers knew their families were gone. Their cities were ash, their oceans poisoned, yet they built, for one reason only, to answer the galaxy. The aliens celebrated far away. They drank in their shining towers. They told stories of the foolish humans who thought they could fight the council. They never noticed the black ships growing in the dark, ships larger than anything they had ever seen. They never guessed that every piece of Earth's pain had been forged into steel. The humans had lost their home, but they had not lost their fire. On a quiet station hidden in the dust rings of a forgotten planet, one man stood before a console. His face was hard, his eyes cold. He pressed a button, and a single message was sent across the stars. It was short. It was simple. It carried the voice of Earth. You chose this. Now face the consequences. The words echoed across the galaxy like thunder in a storm. At first, alien leaders laughed. They thought it was a trick, a prank. The humans were dead. They said this was nothing but static. But then the laughter stopped. In border systems, patrol fleets reported shadows moving where no ships should be. They saw lights flicker in the void, as if 100 suns had been lit for a moment. Then silence. Entire patrols went missing. Worlds that once felt safe began to hear whispers. The humans are coming. The Council of the Stars gathered in their grand hall. Their walls glowed with crystal light. Their voices rose in confusion. Some said it was impossible. Others said it was only a ghost signal, but the younger ones, the soldiers who had seen the front lines, shifted in unease. They remembered how hard the humans had fought, how long they had resisted even when outnumbered 1,000 to 1. They remembered the fire in human eyes when their cities fell, and they began to fear. Meanwhile, in the hidden depths of space, the human fleet was awakening. The ships had names carved across their black hulls. Not names of glory, but names of loss. New York, London, Tokyo, Shanghai, Lagos, Moscow. Each ship carried a piece of Earth's broken heart. Each ship carried the voices of the dead. The crews stood in silence when the ships first powered on. Not with cheers, but with the weight of memory. A commander walked through the steel corridors of the lead ship. He ran his hand across the cold metal and whispered, "We are ready." His voice trembled, not from fear, but from the burden of what was to come. The fleet did not fly for conquest, it flew for judgment. Out in the dark, the stars flickered one by one. Ships rose from their hiding places. Their engines lit the void with pale fire. 500,000 warships born in silence moved like shadows. They did not announce themselves, they did not send warnings. They carried only Earth's message. On alien worlds, children played under twin suns. They had never seen a human, never heard the name Earth, but that night, their skies lit with strange lights. Some thought it was a comet, some thought it was a dream. But their parents froze, their leaders trembled. They recognized the shape of warships blotting out the stars. The silence before the storm was ending. The galaxy had chosen to break Earth, to laugh at its suffering. But Earth had endured, Earth had waited. And now Earth had returned. Humanity was no longer asking for a place in the stars. Humanity was here to deliver its final message. The stars did not yet know the weight of those words. They did not yet understand the storm that was about to fall. But they would soon. Every system, every world, every council seat would learn. The silence before the storm was over, and the storm carried the voice of Earth. The council chamber was a palace of glass and light, stretching high into the skies of the capital world. Inside, leaders of dozens of alien empires gathered. Their voices sharp and restless, the news had spread like fire. Humans had spoken. A message carried across the stars. A warning, a curse. Simple but terrifying. You chose this, now face the consequences. The first speaker, a tall being with silver skin and eyes like molten gold, slammed his hand on the table. "This is a lie," he shouted. "The humans are dead. Their world is ash. Their fleets are dust, I saw it myself. Murmurs filled the chamber. Others nodded. They wanted to believe it, they needed to believe it. But then a new voice cut through the noise. A young commander from the border colonies stood tall, his armor still marked with the scars of battle. His voice steady. I was there, he said. I saw their resistance. I saw them fight even when their cities burned. I saw soldiers use their last breath to drag enemies into fire. Do you think such a people would truly die so quietly? The chamber fell silent on the screens around the hall. The human message played again, over and over the same words. The voice was calm, steady, and filled with fury. There was no request, no begging, only a promise. The council members shifted in their seats. For the first time in centuries, they felt something they had forgotten: fear. Reports began flooding in. Patrols vanished without a trace. Outposts went dark. Stations reported strange signals. Moments before they disappeared, at first it was only whispers. But soon hard evidence arrived. A convoy on the edge of the Nabari cluster had been attacked, not by pirates, not by rebels, but by ships no one could identify. The survivors, few and broken, described them: black hulls larger than mountains, engines that glowed with blue fire, and names carved into the steel. Names of human cities. The chamber erupted. Some shouted for war, others demanded retreat. The leaders fought with words, but in their hearts each one knew. The humans were back far away on a small farming world under 3 suns. A family gathered around their holoscreen. The message had reached even here. The children asked, "Who are the humans?" Their parents exchanged uneasy glances. They did not want to answer. How could they explain that their people had once marched to Earth, had cheered as human towers fell, had called it justice when it was nothing but slaughter? How could they explain that the ghosts of those humans were now coming? In the deep reaches of space, human fleets moved like shadows, not yet striking in full, but letting their presence be known. Alien merchants spoke in hushed tones. They said the humans were everywhere and nowhere. Some claimed to see their ships reflected in the stars. Some claimed to hear their voices in dreams. Fear became a sickness that spread faster than war. The council tried to stand strong. They declared the message a bluff. They told their citizens not to worry, but no words could erase the growing panic. Entire planets began to arm themselves. Borders were flooded with ships, yet every soldier knew the truth. If the humans had returned, no wall could stop them. In the quiet of the chamber, the elder of the council, a being older than most stars, spoke at last. His voice was soft, but it carried across the hall. "We made a mistake," he said. "We thought destroying Earth would end them. But we did not destroy their spirit, we gave them fire, and that fire will burn us all." The chamber fell into silence. None dared to argue. The humans had chosen their moment well. The galaxy was unprepared, divided, comfortable in its power. The council had believed Earth was weak, and yet now the council trembled. For in the black of space, unseen but felt, the storm was gathering, and in that moment the leaders knew. The message was not empty. It was the beginning. The humans had not spoken to frighten them. They had spoken to warn them, and the warning was clear. The galaxy had chosen its path long ago. Now it was time to face the consequences. The council adjourned in silence, no laughter, no bravado, only fear. As they stepped out into their shining cities, each one looked up at the stars, wondering if, at that very moment, a human warship was already there, waiting, watching across the galaxy. The words repeated again, echoing through every system, carved into every channel. "You chose this. Now face the consequences." The stars themselves seemed to shiver. The border systems had always been restless, filled with smugglers, pirates, and drifting ships that obeyed no law. But lately something darker haunted the void. Patrols spoke of shadows larger than any vessel they had seen. Lights in the black that moved against the stars. The reports were dismissed at first, commanders saying fear played tricks. Yet the disappearances continued, and soon there were no patrols left to send. In the far reaches of the Zarin Belt, a mining crew detected a signal. They expected raiders or traders, but what rose out of the darkness froze them in terror. A shape so massive it blocked out starlight. Its surface was black, broken only by markings carved into the hull, glowing faintly in blue light. The miners stared, unable to believe what they read. New York. A name from a dead world, a city erased, and yet here it was, written across steel that seemed alive with vengeance. The miners sent one message before their signal went dark. "The humans have returned." Whispers traveled faster than ships. Merchants told stories of fleets appearing like ghosts, then vanishing into the dark. Some claimed they saw hundreds of ships. Others swore there were thousands. The truth was worse. For in the hidden places of the galaxy, humanity's ghost fleets were rising. Each ship carried the name of a wound. London, Moscow, Lagos, Rio, Beijing. Every city burned on Earth lived again in the form of steel. Each hull was scarred, each design built not for beauty but for war. The ships moved with silence, cloaked in shadows. Their engines burning with pale fire, they had no anthem. No flag, only memory inside the fleet. The crews worked with quiet discipline. They were not like other soldiers. They did not fight for pay. They did not fight for empire. They fought because there was nothing left. They were survivors, orphans of a murdered world. They had seen their families fall, their homes reduced to rubble. Their eyes carried a single promise: justice. The commanders knew they could not face the galaxy head-on at once, not yet. So they chose carefully, striking outposts, patrols, and convoys. Not to conquer, but to remind. Each attack was a warning. Each survivor carried the message further. The humans are here. They struck in silence, vanishing before reinforcements arrived, leaving behind only wreckage and terror. On the world of Terex, a busy trade hub, thousands watched as the sky lit with fire. At first they thought it was a meteor shower. Then the alarm screamed. A fleet of black ships descended. Not massive this time, but enough. Their weapons cut through orbital stations in minutes. Shuttles tried to flee but were torn apart. Then, as quickly as they had come, the humans left. They did not land. They did not occupy. They left one thing only. Burned into the capital sky by plasma fire. The words, "We remember." The galaxy had never seen war like this. They were used to conquest, armies marching, worlds captured and ruled. But the humans did not take worlds. They did not seek prisoners or tribute. They sought fear. They struck like storms, then vanished into silence. Every system they touched was left in chaos, its people staring at the empty void, wondering when the next strike would fall. The council tried to fight back. They sent fleets, mighty armadas with thousands of ships. Yet time and again those fleets returned broken or did not return at all. Human tactics were unlike anything the galaxy had known. Their ships appeared where no one expected. Their weapons pierced shields that were thought unbreakable. The council's admirals cursed in frustration. They were fighting shadows. Meanwhile, the humans grew bolder. Their fleets moved closer to core systems, closer to the shining cities that once mocked Earth's cries for mercy. In hidden command centers, human leaders spoke few words. They did not celebrate, they did not cheer. Their voices were steady, cold. "Not yet," they said. "Wait until they feel the storm." On one council world, children woke screaming in the night. They said they heard voices whispering through the walls. The parents tried to calm them, but when they looked outside, they froze high above, blocking the moons. A single ship hung in silence. Its hull bore the name Hiroshima. Its weapons glowed faintly. But it did not fire, it only waited. And then in a blink it vanished, leaving the people in terror. The ghost fleets became legend. Some called them demons, some called them justice, but no one could deny their power. Wherever they went, silence followed, a silence heavier than death. It was not just war the humans were bringing, it was memory. A memory the galaxy wanted to forget but could not. In the darkness of space, the ghost fleets gathered 500,000 strong, each ship bearing the scars of a lost world, each crew carrying the fire of vengeance. They did not chant, they did not sing. They only waited for the order. Soon the storm would break, and the galaxy would understand what Earth's final message truly meant. The silence was almost over. The ghosts were real, and the stars themselves seemed to tremble. The fortress of Valar was a symbol of power, carved into the crust of a massive moon that orbited a gas giant. It had never fallen, never even been threatened. Its walls were mountains of steel, its shield strong enough to block a star's fury. Around it floated a fleet of 10,000 ships, guardians of the council's pride. To the galaxy, Valar was untouchable. To the humans, it was the first target. The ghost fleets had prowled long enough. Striking outposts, convoys, and border stations, they had sown fear. They had made the galaxy look over its shoulder at every shadow. Now it was time to speak not in whispers, but in fire. The humans came from the dark, engines burning cold blue, hulls black as the void. 500,000 ships emerged, one after another. They filled the system until the stars themselves seemed to vanish behind them. The defenders panicked, reports flooded in. Unidentified fleet detected. Enemy numbers unknown. Shields at maximum. The Council's commanders shouted orders, believing their numbers would hold. They were wrong. At the center of the human fleet, the lead ship opened its channels. The voice was calm, steady, full of rage that had waited for decades. You chose this. Now face the consequences. That was the only warning Valar received. The first strike came without mercy. Human railguns fired with thunder that cracked moons. Kinetic slugs tore through ships as if they were made of paper. Plasma beams cut across the void, slicing fleets in half. Drones swarmed out of carriers, thousands of them, darting faster than the eye could follow, tearing through enemy lines. The defenders fought bravely, but nothing worked. Their shields collapsed in seconds. Their weapons failed against human armor. Their formations broke as chaos spread. In the control towers of Valar, commanders screamed, demanding the fortress fire its planetary cannons. Massive barrels rose, glowing with power for a moment. It seemed the humans would finally face resistance. The humans were ready before the cannons could fire. A swarm of drones plunged into the barrels, detonating inside. The fortress shook as its own weapons ripped it apart. The skies above Valar turned into firestorms. Fragments of ships rained down on the moon's surface. Inside the fortress, civilians watched in terror from shelters. They had been told the fortress was invincible. They had believed the Council's lies. But when the walls trembled and the sky burned red, they knew the truth. Humanity had come not to conquer but to destroy. In less than 6 hours, the defenders were gone. 10,000 ships reduced to wreckage. The proud fortress cracked open. Fire pouring from its wounds, the humans did not stay. They did not land, they left only ruin. The survivors begged for mercy. Transmissions filled the void. We surrender. Spare our families. We yield. The human fleet gave no answer. Only the voice returned. Carried across every channel. You chose this. Now face the consequences. Then the fleet turned and vanished into the black, leaving silence where once had been strength. News of Valar's fall spread like a plague. The Council could not hide it. Worlds that had once mocked Earth now trembled. Citizens whispered in fear. If Valar could fall in a single night, what hope did they have, armies muttered. Soldiers looked at the stars with dread, wondering when the black ships would appear above their own homes. In the council chamber, panic ruled. Leaders shouted, demanding answers. Some accused others of betrayal. Some demanded peace, others demanded war. But beneath the shouting, each one felt the same truth. They had awakened something they could not stop. Across the galaxy, humans moved in silence, fleets gathering, weapons ready. Valar was only the beginning. The galaxy had thought Earth was weak, fragile, easy to crush, but they had never understood humans did not break. They endured, they remembered, they rebuilt their pain into steel and fire. In the quiet of the human flagship, the commander stood before his crew. He looked at the wreckage of Valar on the screens, his voice calm. They will fear us now, he said. A soldier beside him whispered, when do we stop? The commander's eyes were cold. When every star remembers Earth, the first strike was over. The storm had begun, and the galaxy finally understood the meaning of Earth's message. It was not a warning, it was a sentence. The stars would never be the same again. The silence had ended, now came the fire. The galaxy had never seen unity like this before. For thousands of years, empires and kingdoms fought one another, jealous of power, greedy for territory. But after Valar fell in 6 hours, fear drowned their pride. Old enemies shook hands. Ancient rivals shared fleets. They gathered billions of ships under one banner, believing numbers would protect them, believing size could defeat the storm. On the surface, it looked impressive. Massive armadas stretching from one end of a system to the other, shimmering shields glowing, cannons loaded, banners of every empire flying side by side. Broadcasts were made to reassure civilians. The humans are outnumbered. Their ghost fleets will be broken. The council stands united, but deep in their hearts, no one truly believed those words. They had seen Valar. They had heard the human message. The fleets gathered near the Draxus expanse, a place chosen carefully. It was open, far from planets, no civilians at risk. Here the galaxy would show its might. Here the humans would finally be cornered. Billions of alien soldiers strapped into their seats. Their commanders swore victory, yet silence gnawed at them. Every shadow in the void felt like an eye watching. The war had turned into fire. It did not creep, it did not crawl. It spread like a storm across the stars, one by one. Systems that had once been full of life fell silent. The humans did not come to rule. They came to remind, they came to burn in the outer rim. A world called Kelvar had never known war. Its people were farmers, builders, singers. They had watched the broadcasts of battles with fear, but comforted themselves. The humans will not come here. We are nothing to them. But one night the skies above Kelvar lit up. A fleet of black ships emerged, engines glowing pale blue, hulls scarred with names that meant nothing to Kelvar's children, but everything to humanity. Lagos, Manila, Moscow, New Delhi. The people stared, their voices caught in their throats. Then the bombardment began. Human weapons did not fall like clumsy hammers. They struck with surgical precision, spaceports gone in seconds, defense towers silenced before they fired a shot, orbital stations cut into pieces. The humans could have reduced the entire planet to ash, but they did not. Instead, they destroyed every symbol of pride, every shield, every weapon, then they left. Their message burned into the skies in plasma fire. We remember. Kelvar would never forget. Kelvar was only one of many. Across the galaxy, day after day, human fleets struck. Each time they appeared from nowhere. Each time they left nothing but silence. Whole trade routes turned into graveyards. Worlds that had once mocked Earth trembled at the thought of being next. Children asked their parents why the humans hated them so. The parents could not answer because deep inside they knew. They remembered cheering when Earth fell. They remembered calling it justice, and now justice had come for them. The Council tried to protect its people, but the humans moved too fast, too clever. Fleets sent to defend one system found themselves ambushed in another. Carriers that thought themselves hidden were discovered and destroyed. Human code infected their networks, shutting down shields, turning weapons against their own ships. The Day of Fire was not a single day. It was every day. Everywhere in the great libraries of Rylos, scholars gathered to discuss what the humans truly wanted. Some said they sought vengeance. Some said they sought to erase the Council's power. Others whispered of something darker. They are not trying to win, one scholar said with trembling hands. They are trying to make us remember, to make every world carry Earth in its nightmares. No one argued, because they all knew it was true. On the Council worlds, fear turned to panic, markets collapsed. Civilians fled cities, riots broke out. The leaders spoke of resistance, but their voices shook. They called the humans monsters, demons, shadows, but the more they cursed, the more powerless they looked, for every curse was drowned by the echo of the human message. You chose this, now face the consequences. In one system, the humans arrived and did nothing. They simply hovered above the capital world, 1,000 ships blotting out the sun. For 3 days they did not fire a single shot. They only broadcast the same recording of Earth's burning cities, streets filled with smoke, children crying, oceans poisoned. Then they left without firing once, and yet, that system broke faster than any that had been bombed. The people turned on their leaders, demanding answers, demanding why Earth had been destroyed. The humans had turned memory into a weapon sharper than any blade. It was not only fire that burned the galaxy, it was guilt. Entire civilizations could not sleep. Entire planets lived in terror, wondering if the next dawn would bring the black ships, wondering if they would hear the human voice whisper in the dark. On the flagship of the human fleet, the commander stood with his crew, his eyes fixed on the map of stars. Each red mark was a system they had struck. Hundreds glowed already. His voice was steady. They thought they could erase us, he said. Now they will never forget us. His crew did not cheer. They simply prepared for the next strike. The Day of Fire spread until the galaxy no longer measured time in days or years, but in the rhythm of human attacks. Each week another world silenced. Each month another fleet gone. Hope faded. The Council grew quiet. Their halls that once rang with arrogance now echoed with fear. And still the humans came, unrelenting, unbroken, carrying the weight of a dead world with them. The stars themselves seemed to bow before their fury. The Day of Fire was not an event, it was an era. An era where the galaxy learned that Earth's silence had never meant weakness. It had meant waiting. And now that silence had turned to fire, the Grand Hall of the Council had once been a place of pride. Its walls rose like crystal mountains, glowing with lights that shimmered like the heart of stars. Here emperors, queens, and warlords once spoke with arrogance, their voices loud enough to shake whole empires. But now the chamber was nearly empty. The long rows of seats stood abandoned, many left vacant by rulers who no longer had fleets, no longer had worlds. Some had fled into hiding. Others had been consumed by the fire of human vengeance. The few who remained gathered in silence. Their faces were drawn, their eyes hollow. They looked less like leaders and more like survivors. The day of fire had broken them, whole systems burned, their proud fortresses destroyed, their people asking questions they could not answer. And worse than all the losses was the message that followed them everywhere. You chose this, now face the consequences. The oldest among them, a being with skin like dark stone and eyes dimmed by centuries, rose to speak. His voice shook as it echoed through the chamber. We cannot continue, our fleets are gone. Our armies shattered, the humans do not want our planets. They do not want our treasures. They want us to remember. And we do. We cannot escape their memory, nor their fire. His words hung heavy in the air. No one disagreed because no one could. Another leader slammed his claws on the table. His voice broke with anger and fear. We were fools, we thought them weak. We laughed as their world burned. We said humanity would never rise again. And now they have risen higher than us all. They blot out our suns, they burn our fleets. They whisper in our dreams. He lowered his head. And for the first time, tears slipped down the face of a ruler who had once enslaved millions. Across the galaxy, the evidence of human vengeance could not be hidden. Worlds once shining now smoldered, civilizations reduced to ash or silence. And yet the humans never claimed those places. Never raised their banners, they left only ghosts and the echo of their message. The council had no defense against it. It was not just war, it was judgment. Suddenly, the chamber lights flickered. The leaders froze, fear clutched their throats, for they all knew what this meant. In the center of the hall, above the great table of the council, a hollow shimmered into existence. It was not their technology, it was human code. A figure appeared, a human dressed not in armor but in simple black, his face pale, his eyes sharp as steel. He stood tall, though his shoulders bore the weight of sorrow older than any empire. Around him the leaders could hear faint sounds carried in the transmission. The sound of wind across ruins, the sound of voices long gone, the sound of Earth's ghosts. When he spoke, his words were steady. They carried no hate, no shouting, but something colder, heavier. You thought destroying Earth would end us. You thought erasing our cities, killing our children, burning our oceans, would make us vanish. He paused, his eyes sweeping across the alien leaders who trembled like children. But we are still here. We are the fire you lit. We are the storm you called, and now we are your consequence. No one spoke. No one dared. For the first time in history, the rulers of the stars were silent before a single human. The figure continued, his voice never rising. Your fleets are gone, your fortresses broken. Your people hide in fear. You will surrender not because we ask it, but because you have no choice. You will kneel not to us, but to the memory of what you did. You will live in silence. You will never forget Earth. The hollow flickered, and for a moment the image of Earth itself appeared. Not the living Earth of green forests and blue oceans, but the scarred Earth of fire and ruin. And then the figure spoke the words that had haunted the galaxy since the first whisper. You chose this, now face the consequences. The transmission ended, leaving only silence. The leaders sat frozen. Some trembled, some wept, some bowed their heads in shame. They had gathered for one last meeting to decide their fate. But the decision had already been made. Humanity had spoken, and their voice was final. The elder stood again, his body heavy with despair. It is over, he whispered. The age of the council is done. The age of man has begun. Outside the chamber, the skies of the capital world darkened. Massive shadows stretched across the horizon. The human fleet had arrived, their warships hung in silence. Blotting out the suns, they did not fire, they did not move, they only waited. The council members fell to their knees, not before weapons, but before memory itself. The last council meeting ended not with treaties, not with peace, but with silence. A silence so deep it would echo through every world, every star forever. The war was over, though the stars still burned with the scars of it. The council no longer existed. Its halls of crystal lay silent, its banners torn down, its leaders broken and scattered. The galaxy, once ruled by arrogance and cruelty, now trembled under a single shadow. The shadow of Earth. From the black, the human fleets emerged. not in chaos but in perfect silence. Their warships blotted out suns, 500,000 vessels standing in formation, each one scarred, each one bearing the names of Earth's fallen cities. They did not fly as conquerors. They flew as a living reminder, every ship a monument, every engine a heartbeat of vengeance on the capital world. Billions of civilians looked to the skies. Their voices hushed. They saw the black wall of ships, and they knew no resistance remained, no fleet could rise. The galaxy had no choice but to kneel. In the largest square of the capital, the alien leaders gathered, their heads bowed, their bodies shaking. The crowd that had once cheered the fall of Earth now stood silent. The sound of engines above their skies was all they could hear. Then from the sky a single human ship descended. It landed without thunder, without fire. Its ramp opened, and one figure stepped out. The envoy of Earth was not clad in shining armor or a crown of victory. He wore plain black, his boots scarred with dust, his face lined with sorrow. His eyes held no joy, only the weight of memory. He walked slowly to the center of the square, and the galaxy watched, billions of eyes locked on him. He spoke without raising his voice, yet his words carried across every system, through every screen, every station. You destroyed our world, you burned our skies, you slaughtered our children. You thought Earth would be forgotten, but we endured. We rebuilt in the silence you left us, and now we are here, not as your subjects, not as your victims, but as your judgment. The leaders trembled. One fell to his knees, then another, until the entire council bent in silence. They did not kneel before a king or an empire. They knelt before the weight of what they had done. The envoy looked at them with eyes colder than steel. You will not rebuild your thrones. You will not rise again from this day forward. There is only one law among the stars. Remember Earth? A hollow shimmered above the capital, spreading to every system in the galaxy. It was not a crown, not a symbol of empire. It was Earth itself, scarred, burned, but unbroken. And with it came the voice of the envoy once more. You chose this. Now face the consequences. The words echoed through billions of homes. Through every star, every child learned them. Every soldier whispered them in fear. They became more than words, they became law. Humanity had not asked for power, but power was theirs. Humanity had not sought to rule, but rule was given. Because no one dared to rise against them, the fleets of Earth did not conquer planets. They did not raise flags, they simply watched. They became the guardians of silence, ensuring no empire would ever again rise to crush another world as Earth had been crushed. Wherever injustice appeared, a shadow fell, a black ship appearing in orbit, engines glowing with blue fire, a single warning left behind. Remember Earth, generations passed, and the galaxy changed. Where once worlds laughed at humanity, now they taught their children stories of human fire. Where once fleets marched in arrogance, now they hesitated, whispering about the storm that had destroyed the council. Humanity had not erased its pain, it had shared it, carved it into the stars. On Earth itself, the scars remained, oceans still poisoned, cities still ruins, but people walked again on its soil. They rebuilt not with pride, but with remembrance. Monuments rose not of victory, but of the fallen, and from Earth. Messages were sent not of conquest, but of warning. Humanity would not forget, and the galaxy dared not either in the void. Aboard the flagship of the human fleet, the commander stood with his officers. His eyes were tired, but his voice steady. It is done, he said. The council is gone. The galaxy has learned, one soldier asked softly. What now? The commander looked at the stars. Now we watch, now we remember. And they will remember too. The galaxy no longer measured time by empires, but by the echo of a single message, a message carved into steel, fire and silence. You chose this, now face the consequences. And so Earth took its throne among the stars, not as an empire of gold or banners, but as a shadow, as a storm, as the memory that no star could escape. Humanity had been broken once, but never again. The galaxy would never forget. The galaxy would never laugh at Earth again. The throne of Earth was not built on conquest. It was built on survival, on vengeance, on fire, and above every world, in every whisper, in every silence, the stars carried the truth. Earth had spoken its final message, and the stars had no choice but to listen forever.